Part 3 in our Cybersecurity Lab series covers installing the security onion to perform all of our monitoring and intrusion detection and analysis tasks. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and add a new virtual machine in VMware. We're going to go ahead and pick the installer disk image file and navigate to the Security Onion ISO. It'll be Linux, Ubuntu 64-bit. Go ahead and give it a name. Just to keep it simple, we'll call it Security Onion or Sec Onion, something along those lines. And we want to make sure that we put it in the folder that we created earlier for our VMs. And of course, we have set that up to where it would be called Security Onion or Sec Onion, something along those lines, under our SecOps VMs folder. We need to increase the disk size here, run it up to about 100 gig. That's probably a safe number. We can also put it as a single file just to make it a little more performant. Just customize the hardware, and you have to give it some RAM, so at least 8 GB of RAM and 2 processors. And of course, right now we have one NATed network adapter. We're going to add a second one for the monitoring. And of course make it NAT as well. Alright, we can click Finish now. And go ahead and hit play and let it boot up. So let's go ahead and click the Install Security Onion. Pick your language of choice. Go ahead and check the download updates. It'll probably make it a little bit quicker when you get done and you already have those installed or downloaded. We'll take the default configuration for the disk and go ahead and hit install. Pick a time zone that's appropriate. Some people here may use GMT. If you're monitoring multiple locations, you'd obviously want GMT. It's kind of keep everything in a normal time zone or a normalized time zone. For the install, click your language and keyboard layout. Obviously, make those match up. Type in a username. And I would call it something that's appropriate for a name. And then create a password. Now right here the window is a little bit small, so you'll have to kind of guess where the install is. Sometimes in virtual machines you don't really get a good screen guesstimate. And you can mess around with it and make it larger if you'd like, and try to. I just kind of move through it. Once it gets done installing, just go ahead and hit restart now. Alright, once it boots up, we'll need to type in some credentials. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to get the video settings a little bit better so we can actually see everything that's going on a little better. So we'll go ahead and get the VM player tools installed. If you double click on the icon that it puts on the desktop, then it should open up a folder so you can see the actual files. Go ahead and copy it out to your desktop and extract it. And once you find the terminal screen, if you right click on the desktop, you'll have an option to go to it. Then change directories to the desktop. And you'll have your file there and you can extract it. CD into the extracted directory. And then just run this Perl script. And you'll need to do it as root, so just go ahead and sudo and then type in your password for your regular user. And just follow the prompts and answer the questions appropriately. For the most part, you can just hit the defaults unless you really went in and tried changing something. Now I'm just going to restart the entire VM and get everything back, and we'll set the screen resolution to fill up the screen. So just go ahead and enter your credentials again. And now we can go full screen with it and make life a lot easier. So we're going to run the setup program now. And we're going to hit yes, continue for Logstash. Yes, we're going to configure the interfaces. We're going to configure the first one, which is going to be our management interface. It's using DHCP, so check that. Now we're going to do the sniffing interface, which should be the second one. And we get to reboot again. All right. We'll make it full screen again. Then we're going to Go ahead and click on the setup icon and get that started again. Type your credentials in. Now we do not want to set up the network, so just hit skip. And you want to make sure you put it in evaluation mode, because that would have put everything in the VM that you need. Okay, we're going to pick the monitoring interface, which was ENS34, the second one that we did. And now we need to create a couple of usernames. Make this something you can remember. I keep mine the same as the username, just to make life easier, especially in a lab environment. Set up a password. And confirm the password. And let's proceed with the changes. And if you read this little box, it's telling you everything it's going to do. So. Alright, it's telling you that it's complete, so let's go ahead and click OK. Here's a couple of commands you can use to check your stats. And you can just kind of click through all these little boxes. I would suggest reading them the first time. Alright, so we can open up Squeal. And then let's pick the network to monitor, which is 34, ENS34. And you can hit all of them to also include your management interface, but probably in your lab environment you just want to do your monitoring interface. Alright, so here's a couple of things that it's already picked up. Let's go ahead and do some testing. So I'm going to start SiFT workstation. Alright, so now we've got SiFT is starting up and we have SecOnion running. So just to kind of give you a real quick test that we can do, we're going to go to a website that will actually just put something in the URL in the return page that will you'll just pretty much fire an alert over in SecurityOnion, and you can see it's just basically you're having a UID equals 0 root, and that's gonna pretty much pop the alert. But if we notice over here, it's not there. So we're going to shut it down and make a change, because what's happening is you cannot see the sniffing interface, the sniffing interface cannot see any other traffic from the other VM, so we have to make a modification. Alright, so we're going to go find the configuration file that would cover for this VM that would have the network stuff in it. We're going to edit that with Notepad++ or your editor of choice. So we're going to scroll down until we get to network connections, and then we're going to, right above this, we're going to start by adding in another parameter, and this will be for the sniffing interface, which is going to be Ethernet 1 as our second interface. Now, as you know, you have to have an interface in promiscuous mode in order for it to sniff. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to add the parameter of no promisc, which is no promiscuous mode, and that's going to be false. So that's basically going to put it into promiscuous mode. Sounds kind of backwards and a long way to do it. Why couldn't we just put, Ethernet 1 promisc true? But it is what it is. So now we can restart that, and we'll get the interface in the proper mode so it can actually sniff. If you get an error message about sound device, just close it. I didn't include one in here. You may want to arrange the icons. Resizing the desktop doesn't help it out any. Alright, so if we come over here and refresh this page, guess what? It doesn't work. We're going to have to go clear the cache before we can find it over here. Now when we refresh that and go to the site, we get an alert for it. And you can see we click it again and it's cached, so it does not come up. And now you can see that the count is 2. We've actually got 2 alerts in there now. Now if we select that and then do show packet data or show rule, there you can see the rule, which is a snort rule. And you can see exactly what it's firing on, so it's fairly easy to look at what's happened and see if it's a false positive or not. And then here you can actually look at the packet data and you can scroll through it and see exactly what was passed to the browser. Pretty handy. If you do a query on the source IP or the dest IP, it'll give you that information as well. So you have a pretty capable IDS sitting here right out of the box. So if you like this kind of stuff, let me know. Subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up. So go ahead and hit the bell notification so you can be alerted whenever I release more videos. And see ya.